It's too bad they're old.
What do you mean, Patrick? Old people are the greatest. They're full of wisdom and experience.
Thank you very much for joining me. It's been quite a long time and appreciate catching up with you. So I have been trying to almost detox from social media fitness, and I have been avoiding almost all YouTube fitness content. I've been avoiding almost all content of like fitness content on Instagram. I believe that if your birth year starts with a 19, you should not have a TikTok. That's just my opinion. So I have not seen you like any content in quite a while, except yours. Like you, I would say. So you, Sam Sheether,
yeah,
and
I'm
not gonna lie. Like I have absolutely nothing against Bald Omni-Man or GVS, but even them, like I'll see their videos come up and I'll say, I'm okay. Now, part of the reason for that is not because I think I know enough or know more than I need to or anything of that nature. It's really just my issue is execution. I think the information that I have right now is sufficient, but my execution is so lacking that me trying to pile on more stuff to that, and I can't rationalize to myself, this new video that they put out has that piece of information that I need to get better results.
Yeah.
Do you think that is mentally healthier, or do you think that is like almost hubris to think that?
I think you're on something. So I'll kind of analogize this to when I first started, using the internet for information about lifting weights. So I found very early on there were two groups of people who frequented the online forums. It was forums back then. And nowadays it's kind of YouTube and social media. The first group was me. Like I was desperate to make gains. I was desperate to do whatever I needed to do to, short of drugs, to get a 3-plate bench or whatever else, right? And I really wanted information. And then there was another group of people who were literally just there to be right and to appear to be clever and to know everything. And I very quickly identified those people because there was a lot of them back in the day. And I feel somewhat my channel, the guys from my channel, my audience will know the story of Ron, because Ron was like my nemesis from back in the day. He's this old guy. I mean, I say old, but he was probably my age now. So I was 18. He was like in his 40s. And we would just go back and forth on the forums all the time because my interest was just getting gains, being strong, getting jacked, right? And he had all this science and all this bullshit to explain why he couldn't gain any size or whatever else, or why the way that I was training was wrong, why my opinion was wrong. He'd go after me all the time. He'd just like needle at me all the time. Every time I post something, he'd just be on me with studies. But I could just tell from the way he's talked, he was built like shit. And it was a very satisfying experience because years later, it was a couple of years ago, he came up on my Facebook, friends you might know. So clearly, because I remember his name, so clearly he'd been looking for me, right? And because this is what happens, right? And I had a look at his picture and still built like shit, had no muscle whatsoever. Turns out as well, he's a flat earther. So that's his science. So just absolutely insane. So just bear in mind, right? Whoever you are arguing against or whoever's in your comments talking shit, odds are they could well be a flat earther. And 25 years later, they'll still make no gains. So just do you. And yeah, as I say, two groups of people. So and what I will say is there's a bit of each group in all of us. Like there's some of us that want to make some progress, like desperately. When I was 18, I just desperately wanted to get jacked. I didn't really care what I had to do. Success for me was getting jacked. Happiness for me was getting results. It wasn't enjoying my workout for the sake of it. It wasn't a thing. I just wanted to get yoked. But then there was another group of people, another part of me, which I tried not to, especially not in the early days, but there was this temptation to engage in the bullshit and whatever else. So as much as possible, I did quite a good job of staying on track, and that's why I made a lot of gains. So yeah, I think you're being very sensible with at least acknowledging that aspect of you, and because we all have that, we all have a bit of that in us. So yeah, I think you're being very reasonable.
Good. I like that because so like the way I describe myself to like my friends, right, is I have in my opinion, one of the most, for at least for a career standpoint, one of the most useless degrees, right?
What is your
I have a
degree?
philosophy degree, right?
Ah, okay.
So
Yeah.
I make jokes about it because I'm actually pretty happy with my philosophy degree and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But there's no jobs at the big philosophy factory. So like I went through my employment struggles
Yeah.
because I decided not to go through law because I just hate the legal system with a burning passion.
I have got an A level in philosophy. A level for us is what we do between 16 to 18.
Oh, very nice.
So
yeah,
I do.
So
I could never do it
I
afterwards.
love it so much.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like career wise, it was not a good move on my end. Especially because so I was in the military, I got my GI Bill, I was getting it paid for. So I was paying to have a very nice education. And I liked it and everything of that nature. But then I was paying myself or getting it paid for to be broke after. So
what was the thought process of going for a philosophy degree?
Yeah. So I started out in business because it's like the most generic thing that you can do. If you don't know what you're doing, probably go into business. In particular, I would say not necessarily management. If you actually want to make money, it's like, no, go into the more finance side of things. Like, be a finance bro. Go and like, if you're decent with numbers and things of that nature, just do that. Right.
Sure.
I hated it with a burning passion though, simply because my education at the school I was going to, it literally had us doing assignments with crayon. Like we were doing crayon coloring assignments in college, and I was so frustrated. I was like, this cannot be how I'm using my time right now.
Yeah.
And I was fresh out the military, so I was very, immature in a sense. It took me a while to like really get the necessary lessons and really and you can understand something, you can be presented with information, you can be presented with an idea, but until you're ready to actually act on it, it's like you're just going to be ignorant in that sense. And we were doing stuff in crayon. I said, this is stupid. So then I said, all right, I am a online coach, I'm a personal trainer, let me just go into kinesiology. Why not? And I did that so I switched my major and I did that for about 2 semesters. And I just remember, so what you're describing with Ron, I probably should not have felt this way, but that's how I felt about my professors. Yeah. Where I was just like, why are you doing this in the gym? Why are you doing this in the gym? Why, and all this kind of stuff. And I said, and, I would give my reasons, I would give my rationale, and he would say like, no, that clearly doesn't work. And it's like, hey, brother, you're about 10 years older than me. You're still small. I'm not. Like the athlete that you're coaching is still small. Yeah. Mine's not. Like at the time, like I was a coach for a local MMA gym. I had my guys like doing just basic barbell S&C because I told them, stop making your gym work look like your sport work. It's like, like the gym is inherently
with dumbbells and dumb shit like that. Yeah.
All that stupid shit. Right? And I was like,
I hate it.
It pisses me off so much. And it's just like the gym isn't supposed to be general, right?
Yes.
Like we're improving general sport capacities. I remember seeing this one exercise from this one coach. He's a big coach too. He hooked up a resistance band to a leg press. And while you're pressing with one leg, you're pulling with the other. And I just could not. I actually like just had to put down the phone that day and said, today's going to be a good day because I'm going to look at the sky and talk.
So wipe my mind from that bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that was the level of the program that we were receiving at.
They still do it though. They still do it. It's so common because it's just because we just do it because that's the way everyone's done it for all time. There's guys. There is an ex-world level boxer in my gym, and the amount of bullshit he has his clients doing is unbelievable, just insane. Like,
he'll say it's because he's a world champ or something.
It makes any sense in physiology at all. We've got another up-and-coming boxer at the tail end of his career now. He does the punching with dumbbells. It's just so ridiculous. But the answer is always, that's how we've always done it. That's how my coach taught me. It's not how high-level athletes do it. Like, you look at Islam Makhachev. He can deadlift 500 pounds. I've seen Chimaev bench 300. Like, these guys are strong as shit. They're not punching with dumbbells. It's the dumbest thing.
And it's just a waste of time. But yeah, and that was the level of the program where it's just you're using all this scientific jargon to justify, well, that's how we've always done it.
Yeah.
And once I realized that, I said, okay, this is not it either. The only classes that I ever enjoyed were part of my other requirements, because they did require you to take other classes as, like, your gen eds. And I hated, thankfully this is going on my channel so I can say this, I hated all the women's studies bullshit. I hated all that other things. And I was like, okay, if I have an option, I'm going to take a philosophy course. So that's when it's like,
can I just ask, what is, I don't think we have the similar thing in England. What are women's studies?
So I don't know why they call it women's studies, because I didn't learn anything about women. It was all about, I walk in, so this is literally syllabus day. Walk into class, the instructor, because I don't think she had her PhD yet, so we couldn't call her professor. We walk in and she says, I am a insert this identity group, queer, non-binary, non-conforming. And then she would point out her, she didn't like those pronouns, but she would point out her political identity as well. And then at the very end of that whole tirade, this whole, this summoning spell of all of her identifiers, and I'm going to teach you this semester how to protest properly and why it's important for a civil society. Okay. And me and one other dude in the class, I was looking around the class and I saw the same dumbfounded look on another guy, and we just locked eyes and we're just like, and then we just dropped the class, paid the fees to switch out into something else. And it was just bad. And I asked if there were other women's studies courses that my friends were taking. It's just like, hey man, this one was supposed to be about cultural and sexual identity, and then on syllabus day they're telling me about protesting. It's like, this is weird. I definitely don't want to be here. So I had to look around, and most of my other classes, I was like, okay, I did a couples and family therapy one instead. That one was a little bit better. But then everything else is it's a philosophy, intro to ethics, intro to critical thinking. And me, a Neanderthal, an absolute dingus, a level 15 retard. When they told me there's rules to thinking, that blew my mind. I was like, what do you mean? There's an actual system to this? So the joke that I make with my friends is, I'm not a smart man, I'm educated. And I needed those 4 years of this degree in order for me to kind of improve my rational capabilities and skills and whatnot. So for me, makes a lot of sense. For my wallet, not a good choice at all. But that's why I decided to go with philosophy. It definitely scratched that itch and everything of that nature, and built up that skill to think.
But then I'd also say you're very early on in your journey, because you're not you're still young, so you don't know how your education is going to affect you when you're older, or what you'll end up doing. So there's the world's your oyster. So.
Right. And I would say that I'm very grateful to be in the position that I am now. So for the audience, a big reason why I stopped making content is because I needed money. I needed a job, and there's no shame in that, the free marketplace of YouTube fitness content will reward those who deserve it. And I think that the space moved into a direction where I'm just the people who are making good content are making great content, and that's what people should hear more than anything else. I'm not making that level of content. Let me work on that and think about that. But at the same time, it's my own personal life is I need money.
Just to rally with your audience, I always like your content. So I'm glad that you're making it. I do hope you at least make something on a semi-regular basis, if not regular. I'm sure your audience will agree. We like your topics. We like the way you present things. You have a good way of speaking. So I always enjoyed your talks.
Thank you. So to my audience, stop giving me money, damn it. Just kidding. No, I'm not gonna. That's just a joke. But so yeah, I'm a teacher now. I used my philosophy degree, and the thing is, I'm a teacher in a mental health facility. And for the students that I work with, a lot of them are victims of a society that has abandoned much of its culture, much of its history, much of its ability to discuss difficult topics. The things that held our society together and the things that united us as a people together, at least here in America, are very much not the center of conversation anymore. And that's from a society aspect, like, you know, your village, your city, your whatever, your state. But the thing is, worse than that, the family dynamic in America is significantly broken, I would argue. And these kids, mental health in America has captured more than it needed to, or more than it intended to. So you have these kids who grew up in broken families. They fell behind in school. They don't fit in with most people their age, and then they're moving on through life in a way that is not going to be very accepted by society, especially as they turn 18. So now that they're between the ages of like 12 and 17, they're crashing out, and we want to call it mental illness. But when I started like seeing the kids, I couldn't. And maybe this is like a weakness on my part because I'm not a therapist, but I looked at them and I said, no, this is a character defect. This is a critical thinking defect. This is a lack of proper decision making. And if there is a genuine mental illness, there's therapists and clinicians who work on site. I'm just like, I'm gonna let them handle that. But I decided for myself, I'm not gonna practice something that I remember hearing called suicidal empathy, where it's just, hey, you had such a shitty life, but I'm not going to excuse you for the actions that you're making. Like the way I describe it to my students, and I tell them this very bluntly, it's like, hey, life has a way of throwing you into a 10-foot hole. And the thing is, maybe it's just life that threw you in there. Maybe it's even your parents who threw you in there, but no one gives a fuck about that. The thing is, you're in a 10-foot hole, and your actions, your thoughts, your character, that's your shovel. And no one is going to question why you're down there. They're only going to look at what you do with your shovel. So are you digging deeper, or are you digging yourself out? And because of that, you know, when I get these new students, because it's like a rolling admission, I purposefully don't look at their file to kind of help that process of, I'm sorry, no one else is going, like, once you leave this facility, once you get out there in society, no one's going to have this file. No one's going to be able to say, well, you went through all this in your life. So it's like, I have to almost be just this blunt figure and provide that. And philosophy actually helped quite a bit, because then I can use things that they've never really experienced before, which is just, no, there's rules to thinking, and I can introduce them to the thing that they're lacking most, which is ethics. Like, and I've found that by developing their sense of right and wrong, by developing their systems of belief around those topics, that contributed to a lot of their improvements in treatment also. And the only reason why I say this is because I'll have these kids write me after they leave our program. Like, I've received several phone calls from parents, letters from the students themselves months after the program, and they'll write me saying, this has been working for me. Like, now that, like, I'm trying to focus on this more. I even and this one was kind of made me a little sad, but one of them, he actually wrote me he went to jail. Like, and when he went there, he said, like, the first person he reached out to was me. He's like, I let you down. The things that you taught me, like, this helped me for a while, but I just, you know, I made a mistake. And he was trying to, like, and he would write down the things that he knew he should have done from the lessons that I would teach. And it's really, I'm just the messenger of what I believe is like what everyone needs, which is develop your critical thinking and develop your sense of ethics, right? And that's why I'm very grateful for my degree now, but it took a long time to get there, and a lot of me, like, working way more than I would like to.
I think when it comes to sort of the guidance for young people, certainly from my perspective as a young guy growing up, you look for that stabilizing voice, which is older than you, and provides a generally positive direction, because there's so many sources of information. You have your school, your friends, social media, videos, all that kind of stuff. But it's important certainly it was very important for me to seek out voices with experience, with maturity, who I could rely on to go, right, this is the right direction I want to pursue. So, you know, regardless of the intricacies of what you're saying to these people, these kids, I'm sure what they really appreciate is just a voice who is positive, and who cares? That means a lot. You
Yep.
look for that.
And that's one thing that I'm grateful for, as like, because I'm not in a classroom with like 40 kids at one time. Like, I'm able to develop those, like, small one-on-one relationships and things of that nature.
That is the consequence of like the way that I did teaching was you do develop relationships, but not in the same way, for sure. We have in every school in England, they have a separate section which is for the naughty kids or the kids with larger issues that we can't really handle in a classroom of 30. And I've been in, but I don't. It's not something I spent a lot of time in because mine was just subject teaching. So you do build reasonably good relationships with 30 student class, but yeah, it's not the same as working more in groups of 4 to 5.
Most definitely. I remember, this is the last thing I'll say before we get into the actual lifting topics. I remember my first week on the job. First, I remember from the interview, my boss looked at my resume and said, "Oh, you worked in security. That's going to be great here." And I was like, all right. And yeah, my first week on the job, like 3 times I had to, like, the cool thing about this facility is because, and I'm not saying cool because like, oh, cool, I get to put hands on kids. It's just that we are allowed to defend ourselves, and we're especially supposed to make sure that they're not supposed to hurt themselves. So if they attack us, it's like,
It's all
yeah, it's all like day 3 of orientation is how to legally put your hands on them to not get in trouble. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was just, smiling, taking it all in. But yeah, like, first week on the job, 3 different kids were like, having temper tantrums.
Mortal Kombat. Yes.
Exactly. And I was like, oh God, I have to like protect the nurse or something. And it was just like, as I'm holding a kid down, she's like screaming like her head off. I'm just there in my mind trying to relax her and everything. But at the same time, I'm like, I thought I was a social studies teacher.
Yeah. What did I sign up for? Yeah. That is funny. Yeah,
but I do have fitness related topics to bring up to you today. So part of the reason why I bring up my detox on social media content and fitness content in general is to not avoid my thinking. But fitness YouTube content, I think, is like more available, bigger than it's ever been, because it's just the medium that we have. Internet is available to everyone. Do you think that the average normal lifter IQ has gone up in comparison to when you were starting out to now?
I think it's about the same. I think people are about the same, because it's only been 25, 30 years. So, but I think the audience is different now. So back when I first started, generally there wasn't as much lifting just for the sake of getting huge. That was the, if we're looking at the audience, I think now the audience is more diluted. You have a much wider range of people. Certainly when I was coming up, in England as well, it was a very small niche of people who were lifting just to get big and jacked and strong. And generally they just wanted to get like strong and big and strong and be like, rah. It was like the Dorian generation. Whereas I think now we kind of have more of a split across, and our world has almost merged into other worlds, more mainstream worlds. Like you have the aesthetics generation came along in 2010, with Z's, and now you have the whole looks maxing thing with clavicular and all that kind of stuff. And where were you when clavicular was mocked by the ASU frat leader and all those things, right? So like we have all these moldings of, we have a dilution of the lifter population, because it's not just about getting big and jacked and strong. It's now also about looking aesthetic, maybe actively trying not to get too big. And we have this other sort of area now, which is new, which is more mainstream about how looks maxing, how you look. And then the physique is really just an add-on to that. So I don't think normally lifter IQ has gone up or down. I think we're all basically the same, but I think we have a much, much wider pool of interests. And I see that with some of my videos, even on a small scale. I'm only at about 26,000 now, but on a small scale, I did a video about clavicular, but there's a lot of people really defending like what he was doing. And I think surgeries at that age, hitting your face with a hammer and all that kind of stuff it's not something that I would want to get into. But people were defending that and blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. And, it's fine, but it shows how passionate people are about their own priorities. And that's okay. It's okay to have disagreements, but I thought that was quite interesting. So yeah, to answer your question, I don't think ultimately, normally IQ is any different, but I think we have a much wider pool. I might be in a gym training and the guy alongside me has got no interest in being big and strong. He's literally just there because he wants to get leaner to make his face look lean and chiseled and stuff. That's cool. Like, we're all there for different things, but we have a much wider pool now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because I think I'm still approaching the gym with why else would you be in there if not to be big and strong? Like,
we had a culture around it. I mean, I actually recently did a video about this, about what we lost when we moved away from the big mover mindset. So when I was younger, we were all the guys in the gym, and the first gym I went to was full of bodybuilders, Olympic lifters, power lifters, strong men. There's even a sumo wrestler there as well, who's one of England's famous sumo wrestlers. And we all were unified in our pursuit of bench press, squat, deadlift, pull-ups. Now, I think that's very different. So that unifying culture, the unifying tools that we had back then, they're much more split as well now. Like, a lot of people now are much more likely to look at be lifting on machines. So that is part of the culture now as well. And that has, again, broken up. And just to emphasize again, in any given gym right now, you will have just 20, 30 people with vastly different goals. And that just seemed to be not the case back in the day. It seemed to be a smaller range of goals and everyone just wanted to be strong. Now, I think it's much more split. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not advocating for a bad thing. Everyone has their goals. But just to answer your question, I think there's a huge range of reasons for why people are in the gym now, way more than it ever has been.
that makes a lot of sense. And I'm not against it either. It's just a matter of like, there was a comment on one of my recent videos, and I just put in the comment section, I just don't understand it. Like, it's like they were asking my opinion on certain things, and I felt that if I actually gave my thoughts, it would be around the same quality and same value as a person who thinks the earth is flat. It's like, well, my opinion in this matter shouldn't mean anything because I just don't understand it. But I'm of the general opinion that when we have conversations about like awareness or information being more readily available, so then the intelligence has gone up. It's like, well, information isn't the same thing as intelligence. And when it comes to like, normies, which we all were one at some point, it's just we were captured by the spirit of an age, spirit of like, the gym culture at the time and things of that nature. How it expresses itself is different because of that factor, but the IQ itself and the intelligence itself doesn't really change much throughout time. Like, one big mistake humans make is that we think we're like significantly smarter than past generations. Yeah. Right. But this kind of leads into, have you noticed a mentality change? Because you already brought up, like, there's an overlap between all these different interests. When you go to the gym, it's no longer just big, strong. It's looks maxing. It's whatever else people do nowadays. But now that there's this overlap where different people in different spaces are all sharing one space, the gym, do you see that kind of change how you present content, change how you make content, change how you interact with content that's being made?
Yeah, so I think nuance is extremely important. And I go out of my way to provide as much nuance as possible in my videos, because as a school teacher of 15 years, one of the things you'll learn when you're creating lesson plans, not you, but like one of the things people will learn when they're creating lesson plans for students is you have to account for the literally infinite number of ways people will misunderstand and misinterpret what you're going to say. Like, before you even say it. So within a lesson plan, teachers are masters at this. You'll be able to address misconceptions and see where people are going to misunderstand what you've said. And you can do that in a YouTube video. But the fact of the matter is, the YouTube video might be 10 minutes long. Somebody's already tuned out at 2 minutes. Somebody's looked at your thumbnail and is going to argue with literally, this is not me making a story up. This is literally true. Someone will write a 3-paragraph argument against what they think you said based on a thumbnail and a title before they even watched the video. It's insane. So context matters, but at the same time, it's also up to the audience to actually listen to what the speaker is presenting rather than just what they think they're going to present. So mentality, I think I would say when it comes to mentality, I think people need to understand that there is a nuance, because like we've been saying, it's not all going to apply to everyone. So every video is not going to apply to you. And that's I guess, a large part of it. So yeah, just ensure when you are delivering content, you specify who it's for and who this is applicable to. And I think when you're receiving content, just make sure you fully understand like that not everything will apply to you. That doesn't mean you have to disagree with it. Doesn't mean you have to go out of your way, because that's what people love to do. But all it means is maybe just listen to what the fuck is being said before before we start disagreeing. So again, because there are so many lifting populations, you can't speak to everyone in a 10-minute video. There has to be context, there has to be nuance. So yeah, I think that accounts for some of the mentality shift. People just have different goals. That's fine. But yeah, when it comes to information exchange, you really got to be careful. Well, you've just got to acknowledge that. That's all.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's important for whenever a person watches content, know what you're watching. Like, at least for me, something that I've been doing for some of the content that I have lined up, it's making it very clear. This is a strength channel. Like this that's what, like, it's literally in the name. Like, all I care about is that. Like, so it's not what's best for most people. It's not anything of that nature. The way I would think about it is, you have a whole selection of things you want to study, and you sign up for a class in that particular subject. And let's say the class is on, like, I don't know, American psychology or something. And then you go into the class thinking, well, what about Nietzsche? What about Descartes? What about all these other guys? It's like, dude, this is an American philosophy class. Like, you're not going to hear about those guys. That's not what we're here for. And I think
no, go on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Like, I want to be able to make content which is nuanced and is informative and actually helps people. Now, to do that, you have to be specific. So the alternative is producing generic clickbait bullshit, right? But like, people will still misunderstand what you're putting out because they won't accept that there's nuance. Well, that doesn't apply to me. Or I disagree with this. And they're only disagreeing because it's a completely different audience. So what should I do then? Should I just make generic bullshit clickbait content? Is that what we want? Is that really what we want? It's like, to help people, you have to be specific, you have to be nuanced. But then the people have to understand it's not all going to apply to them. The universe doesn't revolve around Steve, who logs on to Fazless video comments on a Tuesday afternoon and has to disagree. It doesn't apply to you, bro. So this is it. People love going on about how we want specific, good, actual, meaningful content. When it comes down to it, there's no grace given at all. Well, I'm being hyperbolic, but by some people, there's very little grace given to the fact that this is for thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, whatever it is. So again, the alternative is just generic clickbait bullshit. The alternative is Milo Wolf creating a tier list saying leg extensions are the worst. Is that what we want, people? Is that what we really want? Like that, that's, as a content creator, these are the struggles you have, when it comes to, you want to make meaningful content, because most of my content comes from my coaching conversations. That's how I get all my ideas. These are real problems that people have encountered, real problems, real people, with real situations, real problems. And they're by the nature of it, they're nuanced. So we have to accept the fact that these are going to be nuanced topics that I deliver. But again, the alternative is just generic clickbait bullshit. So people have to understand, there's pros and cons. There's a sacrifice you have to make with these kind of contents.
Yeah, I find I give so much props to the content creators, and some of them are very big, who for the past 10 years has been releasing the 10 best quad exercises for 10 years straight. And it's always something different. But no, and I do like that your content comes from the conversations you have with clients and with people, because you're very much front lines, in the weeds, in the trenches with these people. And that's why part of the reason why I continued to watch your content, it's because the way I look at it, you are the sage of the noble natty movement, right? You've been there, you've done it, and you're older than what we're used to in the fitness space, I would argue, which I think is an advantage, right?
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier, sometimes you need that older, more stable voice. And how would you say you manage not turning into the old man just shaking his fist at the sky at young people? How would you say you've prevented that? Because I think you've done that quite well.
I've not done a very good job of that today, have I? Yeah.
Hey, but that's why you're on my channel to do it.
Exactly. Generally, I think if anyone who knows me and knows my content knows that I'm very much in favor of there being more of a balance between sort of the older and younger generations. I've never been one of the guys ever who has said, the younger generation is weaker or stupid or whatever. Never. I've always defended it. And I've collaborated with people who have made that statement. Oh, it's not what it used to be. Young ones have got no, backbone. I've collaborated with them. And I don't like it. I don't like it, frankly, because I'll tell you this, if you're a young person listening and some old guy says to you, oh, your generation, you got no backbone. There were just as many spineless people when I was younger too. Just fucking Ron. Ron's a prime example. We all have Ron. Ron's in every generation. So don't let anyone, like any young person out there, don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking like your generation's this or that. I think we're all individual. What I will say is something that the wife and I were talking about. We're actually talking about movies. I think every generation has a different vibe. Okay. So with my generation, coming up in the 90s or early 2000s, we were the rebellious generation. Our music was rebellious. The vibe was I remember being 14 years old, sitting in my friend Kevin's grandma's front room, nodding our head to NWA F the Police, right? This was like, we were the angry generation. Now that was different to my father's generation. My father's generation, my father loved boxing. He loved Ali. He loved Foreman. They all hated Mike Tyson because they branded Tyson as a fighter, as an uncouth fighter, because that was his generation. His generation was the kind of generation who had the flat cap and suits and all that kind of stuff. That was his generation. That's how he dressed. My generation was different. It was the anger, more raw. You look at wrestling. I know you'll relate to that. Like, look, attitude. So it's not that people have gotten soft, but certainly you look at famous singers now, like Taylor Swift. Yeah, it's a very different vibe. But clearly, she resonates with the current generation because she's mega popular. I've never listened to anything she's put out, but clearly she is popular. She resonates to a wide range of people. I think it's just different generations have got different vibes. That's all it is. No one's softer or tougher, just different vibes. That's all it is. And that's fine. I know plenty of tough local bodybuilders who are young and they are beasts. But when you speak to them, they're just mega chill. They don't have that sort of anger and angst and all that kind of stuff that we did, because that was all we did. That was our music. That was everything. Just way more chill. So I think, I don't know if this is answering your question, but I just think generations have different vibes. We rebelled against my father's generation, who was a lot more chilled out and mellow. We were angrier, and now it's kind of flipping. And I'm not saying it flip-flops. I'm just saying different generations have different vibes. I think the current generation are a lot more thoughtful, and that's fine. They're not angry and rebellious, and that's also fine.
Right. No, I definitely think you answered, because like the way I see it is like you don't fall into the hubris of like, I'm older, I'm an authority, I'm all these other things, I'm superior. It's like, because you remember what it's like to be then, and you see the difference is not, some better making feature, some superior, something that makes you superior. It's just, we're different. Right. And I think that's important to recognize. And that's why, like, I like with the content that I have lined up, like, and hopefully I actually execute on it. It's not about me thinking that anything that I'm doing is special or superior. It's just what I'm doing for my specific goals. That's it. And trying to argue and invade other spaces and like, burst through another like door and say, hey, what you're doing is fucking stupid. I might think that, but but I don't understand their world. I don't understand their goals. So it's just like me doing that is me wasting my breath.
I think anytime you think you know everything there is, you're dead as a content creator, as a coach. And again, I know coaches out there who won't even entertain new ideas and new concepts. That's rubbish. They won't even look at them. There's immediately, oh, that sounds like rubbish to me. Like, you're dead as a content creator if you do that. You're dead as a coach, because effectively what you're saying is, you're saying to your audience, I can no longer teach you anything. I've capped out. What they think is a position of strength is actually a position of weakness. And their audience will just go along with it because they're lost boys looking for somebody to nod along to and say, yes, of course, you're the infallible genius. Like, no. Like, we all learn. I've had to learn lots of things in life. This is the whole YouTube thing is new. I've reached out to people. I've reached out to NH. Actually, he was very helpful early on. Reached out to a few other people. I actually have a more recent acquaintance who has 1 million subs on YouTube and fitness account. Big content creator. And him and I have been talking about stuff, and like he's helping me. So you got to keep learning stuff. Yeah, it's awesome. You've got to keep learning. You've got to keep learning in any endeavor in life. Like, everything, like relationships, marriage, everything. Just you've got to keep learning to continue to get better and grow. And even if you think you know everything, you get older and the world changes or your body changes and things change. So you got to keep learning. I think anyone who really thinks they know it all, the people who I know who are like that, typically are either one, not very intelligent, or two, they're a bit angry with the world and just upset, and that's it, and they're just giving up. That's as honestly
describing me right now, brother. Just kidding. But no, but that's why I appreciate your content so much. And another reason why I wanted to speak with you is because I am trying to understand bodybuilding better, like from because like for my, I don't know, lifting upbringing, bodybuilding was just seen as something you need to do to improve your strength. It's like, I remember Sam Sheether, I think, put it something along the lines of, there are times where you need to make the machine better, and there's times where you need to make the machine bigger, right? Yeah. Something of that nature. And
I agree with that.
That's really like all I kind of saw it for, and the things of that nature. But when I look at the content and the conversation now, personally, I just can't understand it because some of the terms makes my brain hurt. Like, for example, I know you put out a video on this, like stimulus to fatigue ratio. In my mindset, I'm always of the idea, okay, if the stimulus goes up, fatigue also goes up. I should not avoid fatigue if I want a lot of stimulus. That's kind of like my mindset. And the thing is, I'll just need to recover and make sure I can do that again. Like, that's it. And I think anything where it's just like, how do I get, and I know, because I'm a huge Alex fan. It's like more out of less weight, but beyond that, I'm just thinking to myself, why should I avoid fatigue? Like, that's.
So I can answer that. I can answer that very quickly because it's a very easy answer. If you're speaking about just muscles in a vacuum, you're completely right. As stimulus goes up, so does fatigue, and that's fine. But we're not speaking about muscles in a vacuum. We're also speaking about joint stress, connective tissues, general, just whole body stress. So if we were just speaking about muscles, and that's kind of part of the conversation, is trying to get to a point where in bodybuilding, you're stressing mostly the muscles. And that's really what we do. We just try and get the most stress on the muscles so that we can ramp our volume up a little bit and do enough to grow. We're trying to minimize stress elsewhere. And that's, you can take that too far, but in the first instance, that's where it is. So I'm always going to advocate, and I've never seen anyone provide me with an explanation for why this is not the case. Even BVS, respect me as my boy, but the idea of cheating reps, no one has yet made a good, strong case for why that is a good idea, because all it ever does is increases the amount of weight you can use. You're still on the day, you're still going to fail. Let's say you take it to failure. Whether you fail with 30 kilos on a bar with cheat reps, or whether you fail with 25 kilos on a bar with strict weight, you've still failed. But in the first scenario, you've stressed your joints out a little bit more, which means you can do a little bit less volume that week and recover a little bit worse that week. So your question's, it's a good question, because I think it represents the misunderstanding that a lot of people have. But it's a very simple one to answer. We're not just dealing with one system here. We're not dealing with just muscles. We're dealing with multiple systems, connective tissues, nervous system stress, even bone stress, which is not that relevant, but it's a thing. Right. So outside of that, that's why we're concerned with stimulus fatigue ratio. And I made the video that I made recently was more to do with volume and how increasing your RAR and going to something like 2 RAR. I made the comparison using effective reps, and the numbers that I gave was, if you were to do 12 sets at 0 RAR or to failure, that gives you the same stimulus as doing 20 sets to 2 RAR. Now you've got one which is almost double the volume, which is what a lot of the evidence-based crowd used to go for. At least they've all changed their minds now, because it's no longer the fad, and they were talking shit before, because they're not coaches, they're just content creators. They're all saying, do your 20 sets, keep it at 2 RAR, that's fine. We're now halving the volume and doing about 12 sets, roughly half the volume, at 0 RER, that's going to be better stimulus to fatigue ratio because it's overall almost half the volume. And you'll notice most of those guys, so-called coaches who were advocating for high volumes of 2 RER, have changed their mind, reversed, and are now doing lower volumes. And that says something. So that the stimulus fatigue ratio is not just this, the way it's been presented by Mike Israetel, certainly over the last 10 years, it's just to do with exercise. It's to do with the whole program.
Right. And this might dovetail a little bit, but part of the reason why I personally have a hang up with stimulus to fatigue ratio in hypertrophy context is because exercise selection, so for me, if you are concerned about stimulus to fatigue ratio from a machine, I almost think that's a level of neuroticism that you're reaching, where it's just, I'm sorry. I think the reason why we're using a machine is because it's a more precise tool. It's inherently less systemically taxing, in my opinion. There's not a skill component as much. I mean, I do think that there's a skill to any exercise. You can fuck up any exercise, even if it's just a cable. Like, there is a skill component. Like, I'm not saying it's zero, but I'm also not saying it's a snatch, right? And because of that, having this mindset almost seems counterproductive. So it's almost like, in my view, and this is why I think it's just my own misunderstanding, but I don't think this is a useful tool in my thinking, because it's a cable machine, it's a chest press, or it's a chest fly. Like, even then, but maybe it's just because, like, it's young man syndrome. Like, my joints aren't like quite beat up quite yet, but I'm thinking to myself, the exercise selection doesn't need me to care about fatigue, or it does, like, in a sense, almost, right? But that's why I want to, bounce this off you, because you're the expert.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say, yes, it's a good point. I mean, I think you've there's a lot of positive in what you said there. But I will say, when it comes to machines, there are ways you can do them better or worse. Like, I've seen the current trend of people doing anywhere between a 3 to 5 rep max on a machine, like a side raise, and saying this is fucking awesome. Whereas the vast majority of people I know, would look at that or do that, and they wouldn't get as good a workout on their muscle, but their joints would be trashed. So that's an example, which is a pretty extreme example. Like, so I'm not trying to break what you're saying by using an extreme example, because I think that's
right.
But that is one case where I've seen it fairly popular that people will do that and insist blindly that they can do a 5 rep max on side lateral. Like, that's cool. Like, if you can, cool. Then odds are this entire discussion doesn't apply to you at all, because you're in your 20s and you're made of steel. Cool. Now, when you're a bit older and you realize that that's the body you've got for life, like in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you are going to have to be a bit more intelligent. And that's kind of what it comes down to when people discover in their 30s aches and pains and stimulus to fatigue ratio and all that kind of stuff, because then that's when it starts to matter. But, for the most part, if you're in your 20s, I guess you don't really have to concern yourself with that stuff. But that's where it comes from. Even on machines, there are ways where people are really doing that quite badly, and all they're getting is sore joints, and then just gaslighted from Instagram by saying, well, I'm doing a 5 rep max side lateral, or Paul Carter
on hit trading.
Paul Carter on God knows what he's on, insisting that he's on TRT at 230 fucking pounds at 5'10", when Arnie was 230 at 6'3". Okay. Insisting that he can do 5 rep max on side laterals to be fine. Cool. First of all, your form shit. Secondly, like, are you all right? But I don't see why people have to create this scenario where it's like, well, that's fine for everyone. You can do it. Yeah. Because there's this video, there's this concept in the whole science-based lifting sphere about the brain being involved in how you perceive stress. Okay. Which I think is quite interesting. But the moment you say, well, higher reps work better for me and I feel better on me, they will immediately tell you, well, no, because the research says the higher reps are worse, or they're worse for recovery. And I'm thinking, what the hell? Like, if I do a 5 rep max on side laterals, I'm going to feel it in my shoulder joint. Whereas if I do sets of 15 or 20, my shoulders feel great and my shoulders are growing. That's fantastic. And they'll point blank, look at me in the eye and go, no, you're wrong. And I've seen them do that on reels. Like, I hear what you're saying, but you're wrong, because the research says high reps are harder to recover from. It's insane. I think it was Landon who asked me about 4 or 5 years ago, and we were just talking, and he said, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and he said, "What do I think of lower reps being easier for recovery?" And I hadn't heard of the whole science-based lifting thing, so I was like, I haven't done a rep under 8 for years. And he said, "Oh, interesting." Then I realized why he asked me that, because they were all starting to promote that over the last few years. So yeah.
Everyone, it seems like all roads lead to Rome, and everyone wants to be able to just 1 rep max everything and hope that gives you maximal size.
Hey, I wish I could,
It's like, if I just do this 1 rep and that's enough. Okay. No, that's good.
One of the science-based guys, they just don't sound like they like lifting at all. Like, it's the minimum you can get away with, less warm-up.
That's what it seems like.
Less reps.
Yeah.
It just seems insane. Yeah.
Because I would say, like, I love Alex Leonidas, and like I still watch his content every once in a while. But I understand, like, when he says get more out of less weight, the intention behind it, the meaning behind it, I understand it, and it's good. But at the same time, if you were to just remove that, be an uninformed person, and just look at that statement, it almost has that same kind of attitude of like, well, trying to get more out of less, or just trying to avoid something of that nature, taking the long way around things. And that's why my training now, so some updates into my training now, like I'm somehow perfectly balanced between perma bulking and perma cutting, which is very unfortunate. I got to work on that. But that being said, I've refined my training in such a way, because like I do boxing still, and I actually have a higher priority. It's like taking up a bit more of my priority list. So lifting actually taking a little bit of a back seat. But because I was like, okay, what is a good strength and conditioning routine for boxing? I was like, that just means the Olympic lifts, in my opinion. I'm just like, I'm going to clean, I'm going to snatch, I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to stop neglecting overhead pressing. I'm not going to do it for the sake of, well, I hope it improves my bench. It's like, no, just get big shoulders, just get big, powerful shoulders. And because of my position at the facility, I was able to, my boss gave me the opportunity to turn one of the rooms into a gym. And he gave me like, a decent budget, and I chose the decent choices, but it's a lot of just, I have a private room with just barbells and weights. And it's just like, how can I maximize barbells and weights? Nice. And I just don't think to myself, is this optimal? Is this whatever? It's just, here's a lift I like. Here's a lift I think is cool. I want to get better at it. Try to get better, don't do anything stupid, that kind of stuff. But it's oversimplified in my brain, but it's just love of the gym, love of training. And I think that is kind of missing. I know we've like looks maxing is a thing, like that's the new language and whatnot, but fun maxing is something that I heard pretty recently. And it's just like, that's what got me through the first thing too. Like, it was just getting results was fun. Seeing something grow was fun. Seeing you get better was fun. Like the method, I don't think if any of us, audience included, went back in time, went back to the training system that we were on, it wasn't, it was fun at the time, but I think part of that is just because of the results we were getting. And we can talk about, we can like maybe even make fun of our training previously, but it was because of how much, because of the results that we were getting and the fire and the attitude and the mindset that kind of went into it. That's why we hold it in such high esteem and such high regard. It's just fun aspect, the love aspect. And I almost exclusively focus on that now. Obviously, I want to see metrics go up, right? Because it's results based. You have to get, you don't just want to be like floundering around. You actually want to get progress. So, but it's just passion. Just love. So for me, that's why concepts like stimulus to fatigue ratio don't make sense. Is because isn't it fun to feel fatigued? Isn't it almost in a sense? So that's why, like, but then, I'll update you in a couple of years when like I'm more beat down. But that's my thought press. What are your thoughts on like the importance of like just enjoying your training?
I think there's a lot to be said for it. I think when it comes to training, we probably all train for different reasons. Like my fun, and this is probably a personality flaw of mine. A lot of my fun is attached to results, and it always has been. So when I've had these conversations with people online, people just say, "Well, don't you do stuff for fun?" Like, well, yeah. Like this is fun for me. Adding 5 kilo to my bench, winning competitions, all that kind of stuff. That's fun. So I've always been of that nature. Fun for me is a very well organized training diary where things are going up strategically for a few reps at a time. What I will say though is when it comes to the conversation around discipline and passion, I was asked a question on my YouTube members section about how do I stay disciplined? Because right now I train every day, diet's pretty locked in, all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not sure people seem to be looking for, at least this guy seemed to be looking for some secret in discipline or motivation. And I was trying to explain to him, it's not that, because I think those are very cliched, played out Instagram reel type of questions where you've got Alex Hormozy or on Andrew Huberman against sort of a background in music talking about how it's discipline or how it's motivation or whatever the hell else they're selling this week. For me, it's none of those things. Like, first of all, I just like it, right?
Yep.
And secondly, it's just the same as brushing my teeth in the morning, having a shower. It's just something I do because I'm that guy. I am, like, right now, having done the coaching thing now for 13 years and the lifting thing for 27 years, I'm just that guy now. Like, I don't need to say, right, I've got to go to the gym in the morning. I've got to be disciplined for that, or I've got to be passionate for that. It's beyond discipline. It's beyond passion now. It's just what I do. This is who I am. It's my identity. I am Faz Lifts. I will go to the gym in the morning at 6:30. I'm going to be there. I'm going to eat reasonably healthy meals most of the time. It's just what I do. So I think once you accept it as your identity, it's in congruence with your lifestyle, because that's important. You can't have it as your identity and it just not fit around your life. You've got to make it fit in a practical way. Then I think it becomes a lot easier just to do, because nowadays, like, if I go around and see my mum's with my brother at the moment, she's not going to ask me to eat X, Y, and Z off plan because she just knows. And if she wants to make me a treat or something, she'll make something which she knows I'm going to have because she knows that's me now. And if she wants to show her love for me and her care for me, that she'll do it in a way which she knows I'll appreciate. I don't even have to say anything. Whereas I think maybe 10 years ago, there's a bit more of that, a bit more of a battle there. Whereas now she knows it's just who I am. And everyone in my life, my friendship circle knows that's who I am. That's what I do. It's just, you accept it as part of that's who Faz is. So I think I found that quite an interesting question. So I was trying to explain to this guy asking me the question, it's not about discipline and it's not even about passion at the moment. It's just, I suppose maybe you could call it passion. I wouldn't call it passion. I would just call it habit at this stage. I love going to the gym. It makes me feel good. It's just part of my routine that is nice. And I think if people can get to the point where they have a routine which fits around their life, I think things will be a lot easier for them and just accept this is what you do. And I don't need it to be fun. Like when I was a school teacher, I didn't need my boss to give me fun assignments to do or a fun curriculum. I didn't, maybe I needed to make my lessons fun for the kids, but that's very different. They're children. But or when I was working a regular job after I finished teaching, I didn't need my boss to make things fun for me in the office. I just did it because it was what I did. So the fun aspect I think is fine. But if you're trying to accomplish something like a fat loss or whatever, I would argue maybe the fun is not you, but like maybe somebody who needs fun to make progress. Maybe that's a little bit of an immature attitude. Maybe they need to go, right, what am I doing here? Like, really, if I want to drop 20 pounds, but I need it to be fun, or what am I doing here? What's going on? Because not everything in life is fun, but you've got goals. Right. And that's kind of different to the way I approach things. I do it because I just enjoy the lifestyle. And I enjoy holistically everything, but I think that's a tangential point anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to sum it up because, like, I do think that generally speaking, we have too many ways to understand fun, pleasure, and things of that nature. Because, like, most things that I find enjoyable, like, for example, I'm a boxer. I get punched in the face every single week, and I call that fun. Like, maybe I get hit too many times, and I need to work on my defense. But it's like, no, like, I'm breathing heavy. I'm doing these hard rounds. Like, I'm getting like my ass handed to me, right? And it's just, but I'm there and I'm just like, I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better. I'm going to do all these things. And it's just like you said, results focused. And the way I look at it is you have to almost, in a sense, fall in love with the results that you're getting, right?
How are you finding the recovery with lifting and boxing?
I remember hearing something from Will Rattel where he just said, "I don't care about my recovery." And I just thought to myself, that is the most young man privilege thing. And I'm going to ride that till the wheels fall off. Because, like, until, like, I just don't care. Like, if I give my best on the day, right? I started shrinking down my, I guess, my long-term thinking, because I'm not very good at that, quite honestly. And I'm getting away with it for right now. And I rationalize it in the most religious way possible. God told me to ask for today's bread, not tomorrow's bread.
That's fair. So it's a good way to look at it, I think. I just remember when I was younger, throughout university, I did Vale-Tudo, which is like submission wrestling. But during those 4 years, my powerlifting was not going anywhere at all. Like, I still did it, but it was horrendous for my joints. I couldn't get away with it, really.
Yeah, and that's definitely, like, I mean, so for example, my bench, I've made some moderate improvements in my bench. I've hit more reps. I've gotten more reps with 315. Like, my that's getting closer to, like, it's inching towards more for 10 reps now. But squat, that one, like, and this is something like too, right? This is like me being completely honest. Yeah, my numbers aren't really moving that much anywhere either, because it's just not my main focus. Like, and my snatch has gone up, my clean and press has gone up, my clean has, like, gotten better and things of that nature. I'm looking at the moment, because I am, like, coming down in weight, because when I was going through the absolute worst time in my life, I actually ballooned up quite a bit again, and beyond, like, I hit a number that I haven't seen in like a decade, and I was like, oh shit. So I'm actually 30 pounds down from that point.
You look healthy now. Your skin looks really good.
Thank you. And I'm running still. So I plan out my week where I'm just like, okay, this is the day that I run. This is the day that I lift. This is the day that I do mainly boxing training. So, like, I lift 4 days a week. I do cardio 3 days a week. Boxing training is part of those cardio days. And then I just focus on having a good workout. If something's not feeling right, I'll make adjustments on the day, but it's very reactive. I try to not be super in my head and proactive on certain things. My goal is just have a good workout.
You're doing, like, fairly sub-max kind of repetitive big lifts?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I adopted, like, another thing that I adopted too. I adopted some of the 5-3-1 like principles, because the reason why he made the program was to be more athletic. So my thought process was, well, if that's what he made the program for, and it worked for him and worked for so many people, let me give it a try. So working off of a training max, going for rep maxes, a lot of things that I really like, and, like, that vibe with my psychology, because I do think psychology is a very important factor in programming, is like stuff from Andy Baker. Like, I remember his, like, rotating linear progression scheme, quite like that, where it's just, okay. And then, of course, it melds quite well with some Will Rattel stuff, where it's just, he has some ideas of just 2 sets to failure is all you need for hypertrophy. I think that's relevant for a strength context, but that's where I exist. So it's just like, yeah, sounds good to me. And then that gives me that time and ability to do all this other stuff, because I'm not trying to optimize for much else beyond, like, strength and conditioning. And it's working quite well so far.
I like Andy Baker. I'm not familiar with Will Rattel, although he's come up on my comments a couple of times. I'll have to check him out. But I would have thought with you and with your current focus, I would have thought something like a Doug Hepburn type of style thing would work really well. So, like, just sub-max stuff, but, like, a lot of them, to, like, 8 doubles, leading up to 8 triples, but just really sub-max, just practice. I would have thought that would work quite well.
I do that for my squat. So, because I love the 5x5. It works. I've gotten PRs off 5x5. But for some reason, like, for squats, after the 3rd rep, like, my mental buy-in just plummets.
5x5 is a bitch, man. Like, we did a lot of it back in the day, but it's fucking horrible. I would much rather do 5 triples or 5 doubles. 5x5 is a bitch, especially if you're trying to do all on the same weight. It's by the 3rd or 4th set, it's just horrible. I remember forcing myself through it. It's absolutely horrible. The only way I think it'd work now is if I was very strict with rest periods, and then the first few sets were purposely sub-maximal, so I could get to the end. But what I used to do was just keep adding weight to the bar. The rest periods get longer and longer, and by the end of it, you'd literally be doing a 5-rep max in every set. It was absolutely fucking awful. Yeah, exactly. I would much rather do 5 doubles, 5 triples, and keep them sub-max. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why for squat I do that. Now for bench, like that's where I'm just like I want reps. Like I pause.
Yeah.
I've kind of come around to it. Like okay, I've played around for a year. Like okay, what am I? What's better? Pausing every single rep or not? How much of an arch do I want to use in developmental cycles? Which is the way I look at it. I'm in a developmental cycle until maybe 10 weeks before I decide to do a meet. It's just why would I bench any other way than just like how do I make sure that this is as strong as possible? Yeah, like you want to like get in touch with the technique and everything of that nature. And this is me being a inexperienced competitive lifter. But my thought process is if I spend a surplus of time just in that developmental, like, making sure that the muscle is working as hard as it can and getting stronger there, my thought process is like, well, if my, like, your stiff leg deadlift is 500, now you add in your leg drive again from conventional. I would think it's going to be more after you spend some time developing that skill, like relearning the skill and technique. So that's kind of my mindset with the bench. But I love also, I know feeling is overrated in a sense, but being able to make sure that the target muscle is the target muscle, I'm working when I'm supposed to be working, and I'm pausing and controlling everything. That's been going quite well for me there. And then deadlifts, I don't know why this is the case for me here too, but deadlifts, there is something that clicks on in my brain that works well when it is in that 4 to 8 range. Like singles, doubles, triples, I like, but a lot of like my most like I guess mentally bought in training happens in that 4 to 8 range on the deadlift. So that's been working quite well for me too. And with the 5-3-1 thing, it's really just a top set. And then if you decide to do some add-ons after, I typically do like a top set, back off set with it. But 5-3-1 is just you hit a percentage. And the thing is not even 5-3-1. It's like AMRAP at this percentage, AMRAP at this percentage, AMRAP at this percentage. And then you're just trying to see these things rise up over time. So that's how I'm approaching like my weight selection. But when it comes to the squat, it's very much like total reps. I want to hit a total number of reps at this percentage, total number of reps at this percentage.
I like what you said about just different ways to train the bench, squat, and deadlift. I think you don't see that very often anymore. You used to see that a lot back in the day, but people nowadays seem to have just one system for everything. So if you're a high frequency guy or a periodization guy, but back in the day, it certainly was true for me as well. I had a completely different setup for my deadlift than I had for my squat. So yeah, it's good to see that I just think it means people are thinking about what they're doing more. So you're not adapting to a system. You've got different systems for different things. I like that. It's good.
Yeah. And I think a big part of it too, and like, I know you have time, so hopefully, but I just cut off my decision. Like I know with coaching is very useful because you're outsourcing your training or you're outsourcing your thinking to someone more experienced than you, someone more objective than you. Right. I think it's called like the Solomon effect, where even like really intelligent people now, they can have a lot of knowledge, information, intelligence, wisdom, but it's very difficult for them to take their own advice because, and Proverbs, right? I don't know if like for those of you who don't know, King Solomon, wisest man ever, says, like how important it is to have a loving wife and all these things, and to not sleep around. Essentially, don't be a whore. Like don't be a man whore, right? That's gonna ruin yourself. And then he had 150 something wives.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
So he would say these things, but he wouldn't take his own advice, right? That's the Solomon effect. But then one thing that I got into that's the reason why my training has changed as much as it has is I try not to put my training through a filter of other people's information, but really look at information that's more relevant to myself. I don't like training the squat over 3 reps. I don't like training the deadlift under 3 reps. I don't like doing multiple straight sets on bench. Like those are things that I considered. When it comes down to back training, my back training is very minimalistic. It's just like pull-ups, chin-ups, barbell rows, dumbbell rows. Like I can understand and rationalize chest supported versions are better, or chest supported variations have a unique benefit for hypertrophy. But then I would look at my back and I'm just like, I'm pretty happy with how my back is progressing. That whatever unique benefit exists, I don't really need it right now. And I don't feel the need for it at the moment. I'm fine. Let's continue going. And it's just, I almost turned the blinders off, right? Because I spent so many years watching YouTube fitness And that's why I said at the beginning, it's not a lack of information that I feel like I have. It's a lack of execution. The things that
you'll learn things about yourself as you execute as well, which is
Mhm.
which might add to your knowledge more than just listening to some guy on YouTube.
And which is ironic because like we're both guys on YouTube. Well, you more than myself for sure. But I think that's one thing I like about your content, because you develop that skill in your audience. So
I like to think
that's
so.
what, yeah. And I mean, your clients make so much progress too. So I think it's definitely working.
Yeah, it's been the client's been great. I need to do more before and afters. I'd like to put a few up every now and again. I did a whole rash of them a couple of months ago. It's nice. I think it's important for people to see what I'm doing. You know, what my clients are doing. Yeah, I don't see myself ever pivoting away from that into just purely content creation. I was kind of joking earlier about what's the alternative. Should I do bullshit, generic clickbait stuff? I don't think that's ever going to be my thing, because I don't think I'm going to ever stop coaching. I love coaching. Like, I really enjoy it. And so I'll always have an infinite flywheel of content to put up, because it's always going to be relating to people's problems. Every day I can always come up with one or two things which are more generally producible for content.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for speaking with me, clearing up some of the things that I've had in my head about training and things of that nature. If for the 1% of viewers who's managed to stick through this whole thing, key thing to remember: the greatest sense, or the greatest form of fun, is achievement. I think that's a good thing to end on. At least that's how I think about it. But thank you very much, Faz. It's been great speaking with you.
Corel, it's always a pleasure, man.